Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. This week Blizzard updated 3 decks that they give to new and returning players, and the new ones are pretty good, at least for the current meta. Obviously the Titans expansion is going to launch in a few days from when I'm recording this video, so I will be able to do proper analysis of these only in a week or two once we get a bit of a glimpse into the new meta. But I can give some insight maybe in the current state of things. Well, what would you need to do to get a free deck? Well, you can't just get a free deck, you have to be a new player or you have to be a returning player. If you're a new player, you complete apprenticeship, you reach bronze 10, that's when you get to pick a deck. First you get them for a week and then you make your final choice. You can also skip apprenticeship, which means that you will miss out on other rewards during that in order to skip straight to bronze 10, and then you will get to play with loner decks and then choose one to keep. If you're a returning player, you must not have logged into the game for 90 days. 90 days is the limit. After that, once you log in the game, you get the loner decks and then in a week you get to choose one. These are available multiple times, so you can come back to the game, go away for 90 days, come back to the game, get a loner deck and free deck and so on. Obviously, during 90 days you will get much more gold than you will by just going in and out of the game, but it does give you some way to just come back to check out new Hearthstone metas for new expansions. And the current decks. First of all, we have the Druid deck, and the Druid deck, well, the sole good thing about this Druid deck is that it has 4 legendary cards: Rhythm and Roots, Collage, Cecily of the Feycode, and Neptune and Tidehunter. But other than that, yeah, just don't pick this one. Druid in Titans is probably going to be a Treant Druid. Treant Druid looks very strong in theory crafting. This has like Drum Circle for that deck, which is a rare card. Yeah, getting 2 rare cards for your deck doesn't really help much. This deck is not great at climbing right now. It's going to be worse in Titans, so just don't pick Druid. Then we have Hunter, which is a Beast Hunter deck. It's an excellent deck right now, by the way. You can play this deck all the way to Legend. This deck also is going to give you 4 legendary cards: Hope of Quel'Thalas, Mr. Mukla, Hydralodon, and Strangleton Heart. King Crush is a corset card. You don't get additional copies of corset cards, so it can be a little bit misleading looking at, hey, that's a legendary, but actually it's from the corset and you don't get another copy. This also gives you Wild Spirits, which is an epic card for your Wild Seed package. I'm not sure what will happen to Beast Hunter in the new expansion. It looked like many decks were able to put on a lot of stats on the board, so big beasts just might not be able to accomplish things. But who knows, we don't know about the meta, we don't know how many decks there will be that will put big minions on the board very easily, and how many will just be something else. If you play an aggressive hunter deck, well, Wild Spirits is a great card for all aggressive hunter decks, actually all hunter decks, but a couple of epics is not that great. So this deck currently doing really well, future a little bit uncertain in Titans, which I guess does apply to all decks. Then we have the Mage deck. The Mage deck only gives you 3 legendary cards: Infinitized Maxitude, Commander Sivara, and Vexallus, because Egwin is from the core set. Then there's a few epic cards with a couple solid alibis and a couple of prismatic elementals. And yeah, we don't know much about what's going to happen with Mage either. Mage has some burn spells that are coming in the new expansion, so it's possible that Mage will be able to do some burn Mage things like this deck is attempting to do. Are they going to do that with Egwin and Vexallus, or are they going to do it with Sif and the new spell school approach? That's still uncertain. Solid Alibi looks like a very strong card also in the coming expansion, although it's just an epic. Prismatic Elemental, if you play the spell school Mage, you're going to be playing with that. So this only gives you 3 legendary cards, but it gives you a few playable epics. We'll see, it's a possible choice. And then we have the legendary card Galore with Paladin, a legendary invitation, Blood Matriarch Liadrin, Purator, Leviathan, Countess, Anachronos. 5 legendary cards. All of them are real legendary cards, none of them are from the core set. All of them are really, really strong. If Paladin is going to see play, these cards will see play. Paladin was very disappointing in the theory crafting live streams. Paladin, the Earthen package that Paladin is getting just doesn't seem to be doing much. So if Paladin survives in the next expansion, it probably goes in some kind of pure shell. It could maybe need a bit more control tools if it wants to answer those big minion boards, but you could incorporate those into a pure shell pretty easily, so we'll see. In terms of the number of legendary cards that you get, Legendary Invitation Paladin deck is the number 1. Then there is a Shaman deck, which is a Totem Shaman. Gets you Stonewright, Rotkil, Magatha, Bane of Music, so 3 legendary cards, then a few amalgams, epic cards, Mistakes, Amalgams of the Deep. It's a playable deck, it's a pretty good deck right now, but I'm really worried that Totem Shaman would not be able to stand the test of time in Titans, because it's a very one-dimensional deck, and then Titans adds more power, Totem Shaman doesn't share much of that power, so we'll see. I'm a little hesitant to pick this one, to be honest. And finally, as the 6th deck, there are no decks for all classes here, only 6 decks, is Warrior. Warrior gets you 3 legendary cards, Tori Belore, Decimator Olgra, Remonia Living Blade. Grom is from the core set, so it does not count. It gets you some epic cards, Sunfury Champion and Bridge Riff. It gives you the full Riff package. But what I saw about Warrior in Theory Crafting live streams was that they were playing Black Rock and Roll with full minion deck, so they weren't even playing the Riff package. It's possible that this kind of Enrage Warrior is still going to be playable, but if it's going to be Black Rock and Roll Warrior, then that probably won't be playing with Riffs. It will play Olgra and it will play Remonia, so you get some useful cards. So if you really like Warrior, then this includes cards for all potential Warrior archetypes that can be playable in the next expansion, if Warrior is playable in the next expansion. So overall, at this stage, we obviously do not know what the meta is going to look like. We don't know what classes are actually going to be strong. If I were to make my best possible guess at this point, I would rate Paladin quite highly, because it has 5 legendary cards in it, and if any Paladin deck is going to succeed, then those legendary cards will be played in those decks, so Paladin is a pretty good option. I also like the Warrior deck a lot, because Warrior deck has cards for all possible Warrior archetypes, so if any Warrior decks will be playable, then some of these cards can be used in those decks. And I kind of like Hunter, although with Hunter I have more doubts about whether this style of Hunter deck is going to be playable. But if this style of Hunter deck is going to be playable, then this gives you a very good basis for it. As soon as the early Titans meta will be clear, I will make a more thorough analysis of the decks, because then we will know what's really going to be strong for the next coming months. But the decks have been updated, and if you need some guidelines, then I hope that this video has been able to provide at least some of that. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.